So I think we can start. Welcome everyone, and welcome to this webinar on DCU MSc in Computing with major in Artificial Intelligence, part-time, partially funded by Skillnet. I am Annalina Caputo. I'm an assistant professor in the School of Computing here in DCU, and I'm also the academic lead of this program. We are going to take questions, and there is going to be a questions and answering session at the end of these few talks. So if you have any question, please use the chat box, the question answer chat box to enter them. And either I will answer if they are relevant to what I'm saying right now, so I will stop and answer them, or I will answer them at the end. We will answer them at the end. So I'm very happy today because I'm not the only speaker. We have two guest speakers, Aoife Doherty. She's a first-year student and head of data curation and analytics at Noritas. And then we have Brendan Bonner. He's a second-year student, chief technologist, technology content and business services at IDA Ireland. So let's start with a little bit of context about DCU and AI. DCU is a very dynamic university, student-centered. It's top ranked among the universities worldwide, between the 2% of them. It's also ranked 19th for the world in the world for the graduate employment rate, and also ranked among the top 100 universities for social and economic impact. It's a very young university. We celebrated last year 40 years of DCU, and among the young university is constantly ranked in the top, in the highest top ranked university. About AI, we know it is here for staying with us. It has been revolutionizing the way we conceive world services and application in the past 10 years. It has a very long history that is dated back in the 50s, but since 2010, we have seen an explosion of AI due to big data and the availability of more computational power that has nourished, fed this big neural network that now seems to take over the world. But the actual revolution of AI is more pervasive because it impacts everyday life from big application that we use in every day to small devices and the IoT or WOT. So its revolution is more pervasive of what we can imagine, like permeating every aspect of our life. And in a recent study conducted by the little State of AI in the Enterprise, it's a third edition was run in 2020. We see how companies have answered in terms of where they see AI transforming and revolutionizing our way of doing business. And basically, the majority of them think that in 1 to 3 years, this is going to be a big transformation. And almost all of them, roughly around 50% of them think that this is going to be a very important transformation or a critically strategic important transformation. So basically 90% of these seasoned adopters, which means like people, companies that have quite a long-standing tradition in AI, recognize this as a critically strategic investment. So it's important for us to have skills and competencies that are able actually to meet these increasing requirements, the increasing hunger of AI skills. So this program starts as a response to a skill gap, was developed in collaboration between academy and industry to basically provide these required skills to meet these industry need. This is a 2-year program which runs online, and it is a part-time course. So let's see some details about the delivery. This is an asynchronous online delivery. So which means that basically you can take the content, attend the classes at your own pace, and you dictate when to study, when to explore the content that is delivered in each module. So the reason for this asynchronous element is to basically meet the requirements of working professionals that may have different time zone for working or different time requirements. We use mostly 2 platforms for our teaching. FutureLearn, which is one of the leading MOOC platform, international recognized. It comes out as a spin-off of Open University in the UK, and we have developed the content for this platform through a relationship with the DCU, National Institute for Digital Learning. This is due to our mutual interest to create the best quality of pedagogy for our student. And this underpins distance delivery of courses, and this interest basically puts us aside from competitors in the same space. Then we use Loop, which is our VLE, for assessment submission and for some forum discussion. So there may be other tools that can be used from time to time, like Zoom, for some synchronous elements when these are run, for example, like presentation or some tutorials. So all the assignments are submitted online, while the examination, normally like a pre-COVID condition, would be on site. Normally, the examination take place in January, although this year we are moving them in December, and then May, June for the second semester. And then we have the August receipts. Again, these are usually on campus, but due to COVID, the requirements last year, we have run all the examinations online, which meant that we have designed purposely the examination in a way that could be run online. So let's have a look at the program structure. This two-year program has a total of 90 ECTS, so credits. And it is structured in this way. We have 2 modules per semester. Each module counts for 7.5 ECTS. You can see a star there in the second row because there is an exception, and I'm going to cover this in the next slide. So if you make some computation, you can see that this count for 60 ECTS. The other remaining 30 ECTS are due to our AI practicum. This is a practicum that takes place in the second year. It covers semester 1 and semester 2 and the summer period. Usually starts in semester 1, where students are required to get in touch with our academic leaders, find a supervisor that is meeting, that they are meeting their interest and the practicum application. And then it goes through the whole academic year until submission and then presentation at the end of the summer. The practicum is about to develop a prototype AI software system, which can either solve a real-world problem or can be an analysis of AI subsystems, or maybe propose some improvement on this. This can be also developed in industry setting. So you can propose, for example, an AI practicum that is related to your current work environment. So this is the structure of the program. You can see that we have 2 years split in semester 1 and semester 2. And apart from the semester 2 of year 2, we have always 2 modules per semester. During the first year, you will learn during semester 1 professional and research practice. In this module, you will cover basic understanding of how to conduct research, how to write a scientific paper, problems related, for example, to ethics and academic integrity. And then you will be introduced to the foundations of artificial intelligence. In the semester 2, you will delve into more statistical methods in data analytics and data mining and machine learning, which is a specific aspect of AI. In semester 1 of year 2, we will cover topics of artificial intelligence, where basically you will see how AI can be applied in different domains, from gaming, computer vision, to natural language processing, information retrieval, and others. And then you will also understand the basics of data management and visualization. Year 2, semester 2 is a bit more complex, so I will spend a few more words here, because in this semester you will have a choice of electives. Thanks to a collaboration with NUI Galway, we were able to provide more than 2 modules in this semester. Because there is a difference between the ECTS that are covered by each NUI Galway module, you will see that there is a choices of modules. So you can either choose between two modules delivered by DCU, which are listed here as machine translation, computer vision, and mechanics of search. So each of them accounts for 7.5 ECTS. So you can see how you need to actually take 2 of them to reach your quota of 15 ECTS per semester. Or you can take the 3 other modules, which are reinforcement learning and multi-agent systems, knowledge representation and statistical relational learning tools, and techniques for large-scale data analytics. Each of them counts for 5 ECTS, so you will need to take all of them to reach your quota of 15 ECTS. And then you see the practicum that run across semester 1 and semester 2. So what do you need in order to apply and to be eligible for this program? This is a program open to IT professionals in employment in Republic of Ireland with registered companies in Republic of Ireland. You need to have at least a level 8 honor degree with a minimum of 2.2 or higher in one of the disciplines related to computer science, like computing, computer science, computer application, and so on. If you don't have these requirements, you can still be considered, so you are free to apply and you can be considered if you can show that you have acquired, if you can demonstrate competencies equivalent to these entry requirements. Important, there is also an English language requirement for non-native speakers of English. You can check at this link what the requirement is about. So what is the minimum amount of points, for example, for each certification. If you don't have a formal evidence of meeting the university DCU English requirements, you can still apply if you are able to show that you have been working and living in an English-speaking country, at least for during the past 4 years. And here for English-speaking country, we mean, for example, Ireland, United Kingdom, US, Canada, Australia. So you need to provide evidence of this, which means an evidence of your residency plus the letter of your employer. So let's have a look at the fees. Eligible candidates working in the private sector, so for companies in the private sector, can avail of funding to reduce the course fee to $2,950 per annum. if you're working in the public sector, you can still apply through the DCU website, but there is no funding reduction. To apply, you can go online. You can see here the link, and the application are currently ongoing. The application deadline is on Friday, 23rd of July. For any information about the academic structure, the content, you can directly email me, and you can see here my email address, annalina.caputo@dcu.ie. So thanks a lot for participating, for taking your time to attending this webinar. I'm now very happy to give some time to Aoife Doherty that will talk about her experience as a first-year student of this program.
Yeah, sure. Thank you so much. Yeah, so my name is Eva, and I'll just say a few words about my experience after the first year of the course, in particular about balancing work and study. So I've divided what I'll be saying into two sections. So first is an introduction to how I kind of ended up in the course and the benefit that I've got from it for my career so far. And then in the second part, I just will be running through a couple of tips that I've gathered from talking to people over the year in terms of managing work and study, and then hopefully they'll help you going forward. So my path to this course is I did a general science degree, and then I did a PhD in bioinformatics and molecular evolution in Maynooth. And then after that, I worked as a postdoc in England for a few years using computational tools to address questions relating to cancer and aging. And then I moved to Dublin to set up the data curation department in a startup called Neuratas, which is where I've been for the last few years. So Neuratas is a tech startup. They work with peptides. We're not going to go into what they are, other than just to say they're a type of molecule that can have a therapeutic effect. So for example, insulin is probably one that everyone has heard of, and it's used to treat diabetes. So the very short story is the company's customers are usually big food or pharma-based companies who come to us with a particular disease or health effect that they want to develop a peptide for. And then we'll use artificial intelligence to identify a set of peptides that are likely to have a particular effect. And then the best predictions are tested in our labs and they're tested in clinical trials. And then, as you can imagine, using AI to pinpoint where we should be looking for therapeutic areas for a particular disease at the start of the pipeline drastically cuts down on the time and the cost and the serendipity that's traditionally involved in therapeutics discovery process. So I do a few different bits and pieces in this job, but my main role is that I source the data and I manage a database that provides all the initial training data that goes into all of our predictors that other people run. And then I also work with a team to understand the biological and data feasibility of particular projects. And I propose how we translate customers' ideas for projects into machine learning questions. So from an AI perspective, it is a great company to be in because the timeline from deciding to find a prevention or cure for a customer to getting it to a patient is usually very long. It passes through a lot of people and it evolves a lot. Our pipeline is very quick and streamlined, and it's just a very well-oiled machine at this stage. So I start seeing lab results for predictions maybe within a month or so of predictions being done. So it's like satisfying to see your work kind of come to life within a reasonable time frame. So I chose to do this course because before I started in Neuratas, I had never been exposed to AI other than what you see in the media. And when I started in Neuratas, I started being included in a lot of meetings and conversations about predictions because I work so closely with that team by providing the data that they need to get going. And the more I heard about it, it just seemed like a really interesting field to me, one that was going to be around for a long time to come, and it was evolving very quickly, and I wanted to be a part of it. And I'm also just very lucky that I have an incredibly supportive manager who just answered all my questions and is encouraging me towards AI in the company. So I appreciate him a lot. So what I'm getting out of this course is just really a solid theoretical and practical foundation in the area that will be the backbone for the applied skills that I'll be developing in AI tasks that I'll be working on in the future. And then kind of more broadly speaking, I'm pretty convinced by now that AI, not the dystopian version kind of AI that I think sometimes you see in the media, but proper AI to carry out analysis that are just not feasible by humans at the minute, but have incredible potential to help humans, in my case through disease and healthcare, is going to be massive. And kind of as a bigger picture, I want to be involved in it for my career, and I would probably bet other people listening who are the same. So this course is also really important to me because I've experienced how difficult it can be to move into a new field without the opportunity to do a course like this. So when I sat down to do my first day of my PhD, prior to that, I had never done any computer science class or heard of a programming language or Linux or anything. And like I literally didn't know how to use a computer beyond Word, Google, and PowerPoint. So I just sat down on day one of a bioinformatics PhD and just kind of figured it out from Google day to day for the 3 years, like what I was meant to be coding or what tool I was meant to be using. And that does bring its own skill set over time, like the confidence to figure things out for yourself. But, you know, my personal opinion is that there is also a downside to that, in that I spend a lot of time kind of sourcing information or getting, you know, hitting brick walls and stuff and figuring out what parameters I need and how do I know if my output is good and all this. And if I just had had a class where someone had pre-packaged all the information I need on a particular topic to a set of slides, and you can ask questions and do assignments, check you understand, it would have been a lot quicker for me and probably a lot less, you know, frustrating at times. And I probably would have got more out of my PhD, I guess. I could have done more work if I didn't spend so much time learning how to do like the basics. So now that I'm moving into a new field in my career in AI, just based on that previous experience, I wanted what this course offered, which is like very flexible, because I have a job, holistic view of AI, not only kind of the broad topics, you know, kind of discussed at like the high level ethics and legal aspects of what you should be doing, but down to like the specific parameters of, you know, what parameter is going to affect the shape of your boundary in a support vector machine, and just package all that together with, you know, theoretical knowledge, practical experience with real life open AI problems. And yeah, just, you know, it's put into weeks and there's clear milestones. You get a degree at the end of it. It goes in your CV and you talk about it in interviews. That's pretty much what I wanted out of it. And that's kind of what I'm getting from it. So that's pretty much kind of it for how I got here. It is a big commitment to take it on. I know when I started, I had a lot of questions about the level of commitment that it would need and kind of the best way to get started. So I've virtually talked to a lot of people over the year who are in my course. We have, you know, a Slack channel, we have informal and formal Zooms, we have WhatsApp. So I've just kind of put together kind of the 3 or 4 things that came up most consistently during the year regarding how best to balance work study and kind of the mistakes that some people made, that I kind of would have appreciated if someone had emphasized maybe to me before I started. So the first 2 tips both focus on time management. So firstly, it's not rocket science, but it is really important to get into a study routine quickly and just be very consistent, or as consistent as you can. So it is really hard to put a specific number on the amount of hours each of you should work per week, because, for example, you're all coming from different backgrounds. So some of you will find some of the modules or the topics within modules week to week a lot easier than others. And that'll affect like the level of study you have to do. And as Annalena said, the course is very flexible. So some weeks you might, you know, get less done, or you just might not have as much to do and so on. So I can tell you what I did is there's 2 modules a semester. So my routine was that I went through the week's notes, you know, 1 module on a Monday, 1 module on Tuesday, did a bit extra on Wednesdays, and then did a bit on Saturday and Sunday mornings. And then that kind of built up, you know, coming closer to exams. So with that schedule, I never fell behind or like was stressed about work-life balance, and I didn't rush any assignment deadlines. And then, you know, coming up to exam time, obviously there was like a few whole weekends spent and that kind of thing, but that'll just happen. Another point I want to make about time management is just to make sure that you start your assignments really early, like when they're released, because except for a couple of them at the start when you get settled in, the assignments are generally not purely theoretical or essay based, like where you can just clear a Saturday and just get, you know, plow through and get your assignment done. That won't work in this course. So most of the assignments are, as Annalena said, real life open problems. They either come from open problem data sets, or you can pick the data set that you want to work on. And in addition to that, you have a lot of freedom, particularly in the second semester, to use whatever methods you want on those data sets, as long as they'll answer the question that you were set. So that freedom is fantastic because it does personalize the course for you. So for example, I picked all health related projects, and now I have some experience in, I can go and talk about them in interviews and stuff. But the downside of that is that it just takes more thought to get going. You know, you're not going to find a data set and work out a set of methods and run them and write it up in a weekend. And I know that there were a few people kind of caught out by this because they just didn't realize, for example, there's a type of machine learning algorithm called a random forest that like you'll learn about. But say when you click run on that, it takes a few hours to run. And you might run one and then change something and run it again, or try something different. So, you know, don't add unnecessary stress to yourself by leaving the assignment to do last minute. You won't get it done. Plan it early, get started, and the lectures will give you all the information and the tools and all that you need. So yeah, time is definitely, or good time management is definitely my, like, unsurprisingly first tip for a good work study balance. The next one is just regarding the material, in that it's really, really important, I think, that you actually understand the material, rather than, I know probably everyone has been in situations before exams where either you've just learned something off or just skipped over and hope it doesn't come up in the exam. And that won't really work in this course for two reasons. One is that each module builds on the module before it. So for example, the machine learning in semester 2 builds on foundations of artificial intelligence in semester 1. And then there's also overlap between the modules that are happening at the same time. So you might look at it, a similar problem from different perspectives, or a method in one might also be useful in another, and so on. And so I'm also not sure about the year coming, but I did my exams during COVID, where the exams were, at home, open book, full access to Google and all my notes. And so obviously because of that, the exam questions weren't set, so you could go and have a good read of your notes for every single question, or else like everyone would be getting 100%. So it was more about, applying, like understanding the material and then applying it to real life problems. Like, so you might get a table or something, you need to have to understand what theory or what equations or whatever that you have to kind of work on to get an answer. So firstly, definitely, time management and assignments, sort out a plan for your time. Second of all, understand the material and don't just like learn it off or hope it won't come up. And then finally, I'm aware that kind of all of this can sound a bit daunting. So my third tip in particular for remote learning or for future learn is really just to appreciate the level of support that you have, even doing the course remotely. So you'll meet people over the year, like over my year, as I said, we've had formal and informal Zooms, we have a WhatsApp group, we have a whole load of Slack channels, some for just future learn, some for everyone who's doing the module at a particular time. I would say that your classmates are probably one of your biggest allies in this course. You're all coming from different backgrounds with different degrees and professional experience, and everyone's going to find parts of the course easier than others. So if you have a technical question, you can just ask it in Slack and someone will point you to a YouTube video that helped, or feedback they got from, or a note they had or whatever. Everyone is super helpful. On the flip side of that, I would say if you do know an answer to something that has been asked, do try help them, because I've learned from helping people in those forums that they've either given me new thoughts or, they've sparked ideas I hadn't thought of. And also then when I needed help, I really appreciated the effort people went to help me. And then I also ended up just networking by accident and adding people on LinkedIn. You kind of just become aware of opportunities that are out there. So I think it really is up to each of you to realize that I know you are doing this remote and it's all very flexible and you're all working and stuff, but you're not doing it on your own. You can make an online supportive community for each other. You're going to be together for 2 years. You might as well make it as easy and as nice experience as possible for you all. So I guess to finish up, what I would say is just the only trait that I was thinking of, what's important for this course. I think the only trait that's really important is to start the course is self-motivation. So there's no one standing over you checking whether you've watched this week's, future learn notes, or that, whether you've done it or not, or whether you've started the assignment or not. And that's great, because if you have a really crazy week, you can just skip and catch up. But, the flip side is that that's all piling up in the background. So all you really need is self-motivation and an interest to learn the material, and I think you'll be fine. That's been my experience. I'm really enjoying it. So, I followed kind of the guidelines I talked about, and my average is about 80% at the minute, and I have work and other things going on. So it's not impossible. You just need to kind of get organized and kind of go for it, and you'll be grand. Yeah, so I will check if anyone has questions. I'm actually not going to be staying for the full webinar because I'm doing this on my lunch, but if anyone has questions, I'll take them now, I suppose.
Eva, thanks a lot for your presentation. This was very good, and I really liked what you said about the community that you create around the content. And on this side, I would stress that it's important, the engagement happens more or less at the same time, because otherwise, if a student is posting a dubbed and then someone else is coming 2 months later, then there will be more than that asynchronous point to it. So yeah. I think it's very relevant to what you pointed out. I think maybe you can give some insight. There is a first question that is more about how to create a profile in terms of AI for a freshly graduate person that wants to get a career in AI. So probably has already working employee, you can have this perspective about how to boost your AI profile.
Yeah, I mean, honestly, I'm just get involved in things, just start, do something, get on GitHub, or all of the, I'm sure they know all of the Kaggle and all them. Just go to something that's open source and start talking to people and start trying it. And because I do think the reason why I want to actually start, coding and stuff. But I think you can only learn so much from theory. I think if you don't have the practical aspect to it, you don't realize the problems you're going to come up against, or like sometimes you don't understand what you don't understand, kind of a thing. And yeah, I think just really just get involved, start talking to people, start building code, and like putting it out there and letting people, tear it apart. Really, it's like the quickest way to get to learn, or to make better code, is to have people tell you how bad it is. So yeah, I know it's not really, I don't think a very I think it's kind of like a vague answer, but it's just what I am doing.
Yeah, no, I think it's very relevant. Like create your own portfolio of project that you have worked on, and even showing how maybe you were no good at the beginning, like all the progress from the first project up to the end in terms of what you have learned, really, because I think critical thinking at the end is still the most valuable part.
Oh,
like
definitely.
showing that you are a candidate able to learn from your own experience and improve on that.
Oh yeah, for sure.
Thanks a lot, Aoife.
No problem.
It was very, very good. Your presentation. I really like your enthusiasm. And feel free, if you see any questions that is coming up that may be related to your own experience, feel free to jump in. I know that you have to leave soon, so don't worry. But feel free to give your opinion at any point.
Sure.
And I would like to introduce now Brandon Bonner, who is our second year student. So I'm very excited because now you can tell us about also the practicum, since you've been involved in this during this year.
Yeah, of course. So thanks a lot, Aoife and Annalena. I'll try and match Aoife's enthusiasm as well. So just to give a bit of background, I'm obviously on the other end of the scale in both the academic pipeline, but also the second year of the course. So my history is that I'm a software engineer. I graduated back in 1994, a long time ago. But I've been working in industry for both startups and multinationals in the previous time. And I currently work with IDA Ireland, who works with a lot of the software companies who are based here, including a lot of Neuritas's sort of peer groups. So we've been working with companies on how to actually make sure that we do have a good program for AI competence. And LinkedIn recently published papers stating that Ireland has the highest intensity of AI researchers per capita, which is really good. But what we've seen now is that we need to have programs that are more tailored to industry needs as well. And that's exactly what Aoife just described. I mean, we do have teams there looking at peptide discovery, but are all the teams available that they can actually get involved in that activity? So I was really interested in this. We were part of one of the groups that was getting feedback from industry in setting up the course. And then I got very excited by it because all of the issues that they were addressing was ones that I was addressing as well in my industry needs, which is looking at large amounts of data, trying to see what the best in class tools are available, and then being able to work together, trying to sort of bundle those into something that's going to make projects and innovation and try and become more creative. So that's essentially why I signed up to the course as well. And of course, it had a great benefit that the majority of the people who were given the course on the Future Learn platform or else face-to-face has been the people that we work with. So that's the leading researchers. So if you're looking at trying to see who's doing what in AI, you'll find a lot of them are actually either lecturers or else course material generators, and you will work as part of your practicum projects. I mean, the big benefit of this is, of course, that it is a part-time course, and you do it in your own time. You do have to be very disciplined in allocating time to this, but there is a good structure that sits alongside that. So we've been running it now for the last 2 years. We've a typical, I think the cohort is currently around 24, 25 people. As well as all of the DCU give, we have a private Slack channels as well where we discuss things offline. But ever since the start of this program, it's been very much a collaboration because we're all in the same boat in that we're going outside of our comfort zone, learning about new ways of research, learning about ethics, learning about data discovery, visualization. And we all have our own approaches and what we're trying to achieve out of this. And that's why at the end of the day, at the moment now I've completed all of the courses materials, and it's been really good to actually work very closely with other people within the cohort. But then the practicum then is very much your own thing, where you have to go with an idea, either something associated with what you're currently working at, or else some other idea that you have that you think might enhance what you've been doing. And my practicum experience, we won't go too much into it because I think Aoife has given a really good description on the course material and how you can manage that, and the program overview gives the good description. It is massively well-rounded. You will have to understand programming capacity to a certain level. The majority of it is based on whatever tools you want to use. So if you want to use JavaScript, if you want to use Python, you can be free to use whatever tool set you use. But you will find that certain tools are more applicable to others. And that will give you the basis for then generating your practicum. And essentially within the first year, you have to come up with an idea of something that is applicable to your industry, but also something that's going to be new that you can then present. So the formulation of that idea, doing a very extensive literature research in trying to get all of the best practices that are available. And AI is an industry where things change very frequently, so you will have to keep up to date with current research. Happily, there's lots of tools and websites that will be able to assist you with that. But then you have to bundle that together and get that idea together. So we're in the middle of the last part of the program. You will be working on it, and the best practice is to continuously try and look at what you're trying to achieve with the practicum from that initial ideation. And then when you get to the post all of the research material that you've done, probably around April or so, you really have to start allocating a bit of time to this. So it's going to be fun. I've taken a couple of weeks now to try and just make sure that we can do it. But as we said, you can do it anywhere within the country, and the last year has proven that that's been really accessible. Yeah, so in terms of one of the things Aoife made a very good point on as well is that you really need to approach projects differently from an industry perspective, where you can go at it at the last minute, really focus on it and getting something across the line just in time. That's not going to cut it. You really have to thinking of these in your own time, and working on at least the framework for any projects that you're going to be delivering right up front, and then continuously improving them. And you do have a team of both the lecturers, plus also the support team, plus also anyone who you're working with, to be able to assist you with that. So that's been probably one of the biggest benefits of this from my perspective. In terms of actually getting the whole thing complete, it's been, I won't say it's easy, but it has been difficult. But I've got 2 children who are undergraduates in their final years. We've also got a leaving cert and a junior cert, so it can be done as long as you are semi-disciplined in being able to do it. But the way that the program is delivered, both on Future Learn, plus also there are videos by the lecturers that are being made available. We do share some resources between the full-time, I think one of the questions for the full-time MSCs. We do have a relationship that we're able to sort of like share some information between those, and that's probably going to be one of the biggest benefits from the full-times, is that you do have access to this part-time MSc who are working in the industries that you will want to be working in the future as well. But overall, unless there's other questions about that, it's a really both enjoyable but very fruitful in terms of knowledge improvement, and to take this course. From the very start, I had my own perspective that you would just be learning, but to be able to learn and apply that knowledge almost instantly in my day job, plus also in ideas that we're having as well, and to be able to share that and to be able to discuss it has been probably the biggest benefit of this. And I'm hopeful that more and more people will take up the program as well in different industries. We know Neuritas are probably one of our great companies who are doing AI on the ground in Ireland. We've got so many other industry players who are looking at the output of this course, and they want to be part of it. So, so I'll hand over there, Annalena, unless there's any additional questions on how we delivered it.
Thanks a lot, Brendan. That was very useful. I really liked your overview of the second year and the practicum. You touched a very important point there, like the practicum part is a way for actually students, you know, to propose what they are interested in, to propose maybe something relevant to their own job, and to actually work on that. There is a question about the course structure. I think you partially answered this already. If it's similar to DCU connected structure, like online evening classes, face-to-face classes on the weekends, and all course material uploaded online. And it's not really like DCU connected in that the content is thought to be asynchronous. So everything is pre-released at the beginning of the term, and you have all the content already available there. And then it's a matter of this concept of self-discipline for you to go through the content week by week. So there is actually timeline, like you're supposed to cover the content to cover some specific content every week. So you know what you should be expected to do, but then it's up to each student. In terms of face-to-face classes, there aren't that many, but some module coordinators organize some Zoom. They have organized some Zoom meeting, for example, for covering maybe some aspects. So, and that is a matter of the module coordinator, and in those cases, there is no pre-allocated time for those. So it's basically on the module coordinator choice decide to set up a time for that. And what happens most of the time is that if this, because again, this is supposed to be an asynchronous content, so maybe some students are not able to take it because they are working at that same time slot. Usually the content is recorded and made available on loop, because in this case, Future Learn wouldn't allow this type of delivery of content. And that's the reason because we use these two platforms, like for the official content to be released, we use Future Learn, and then somehow we add some content through the loop platform. So I don't know if, don't see any other question coming up.
Yeah, I can follow up on that with Gerard's question as well. You will be able to manage in your own time as well, with the DCU connected structure as well. This is very much, the material is going to be there, and there is the opportunity to have those add-ons such as face-to-face, which some of the lecturers or some of the coordinators have added in towards the end. But in the main, if you're able to structure your own timeline, we do have people who are working around at different time zones, and everyone has been able to manage it in their own unique way.
I don't see any other question coming in, so.
Yeah, you must have covered everything.
I think